Hi, welcome to our first summary lecture. Again, I call these summary lectures because I really can't cover all the material that your book covers. So what I like to do is just summarize or pull out some of the highlights, the things that I think are most important that'll help you do your weekly activities. They're also called summary because they're supposed to be kind of short, and I try really hard to make them somewhat short, usually about 15 minutes. Sometimes I'm not always successful with that, but I'm going to try particularly hard today because chapter 1 really only has one main goal, which is to try to explain to you what social marketing is, and I hope I can probably do that in about 15 minutes or less. So here goes nothing. So the first point that chapter 1 makes, of course, is that social marketing is obviously a unique type of marketing, otherwise it wouldn't have gotten its own name. It's not social media marketing, so don't confuse the two. It's funny, if you type in Google, like, social marketing, I get all these buzzword type of books returned about social media marketing. And although social media can be a part of social marketing, that's not what we're talking about here. It's also not behavioral economics. Which is similar to the social media aspect. Behavioral economics can definitely be a part of social marketing, and you're going to see some of that as we go through the different chapters, and you see different theories and ideas about influencing behavior, but it's not the same thing. Basically, what social marketing is about changing people's behaviors, though. Changing behaviors not for any type of profit, but changing them doing something because it benefits the common good, the social good. Not trying to sound communist about it or anything, but really, that's how we do contrast it with things like commercial marketing, right? We're not trying to sell a product, we're trying to shape people's behaviors. So one of the definitions, you can find these in the box on page 9. You've got efforts focused on influencing behaviors that will improve health, prevent injuries, protect the environment, contribute to communities, and more recently enhance financial well-being. So the thing that all of those examples kind of have in common is trying to improve people's lives in some way. It could be health, but again, we don't call this a health campaigns class because it could be environmental. And I like that they are starting to realize that this can also be things about helping people improve financial health, maybe by putting more into their retirement funds or something like that. Like, that could be a social marketing goal. But the point is, again, we're not trying to generate money from anything. We're actually just trying to persuade people to do things that hopefully are in their best interest. Another one I like is social marketing is the application of commercial marketing principles and tools and social change interventions, where the primary goal is the public good. So I already mentioned the public good thing, but what I like about this definition is that it does bring up that even though this is different than commercial marketing, we still apply commercial marketing principles in order to enact this behavior change. There are going to be several differences, which we'll get to, but really the root of social marketing came once we realized that there are certain translatable principles from commercial marketing, and we're like, I wonder if we could do these same types of things, use the media, advertise, and actually convince people to change behavior. If you've heard of the Ad Council, and if you haven't heard of it, actually, I'd recommend checking it out for some great examples of social marketing. The Ad Council is probably one of the most well-known organizations to do public service campaigns. Things like, oh goodness, Smokey the Bear, right, would be an Ad Council goal. They actually started around World War II, I think early 1940s, trying to use traditional marketing techniques to sell war bonds. So again, the goal wasn't to make profit, it was to actually support the war effort. And it was about that time, right, that the realization is happening that, hey, the same way that we can use the media to sell products, we can also develop messages, launch campaigns that can influence people to do certain things. Sometimes that could be purchasing something like war bonds, but that still wouldn't be considered commercial marketing because the goal really isn't for profit. So no financial gain there. I'd say that even though we're not going to be talking about political campaigns in this class too, by the way, that social marketing has a whole lot to do with political campaigns, because if you think about it, what are politicians trying to get you to do, right? They're not out there for profit either, although certainly fundraising is part of their goal. At the end of the day, They want your vote, right? That's a behavioral change. I don't know if you could make the same argument that it's out there for everybody's best interest, so it differs on that level. And certainly selling people is a lot different than selling behaviors. Again, there would be differences between social marketing and politics, but again, one of the things I love about social marketing is that if you have a good understanding of how social marketing works and what makes good social marketing versus bad social marketing, you can be a pretty savvy critic of political campaigns as well. Okay, so your book goes through different types, different things that social marketers different objectives that social marketers could have. There are 4 of them. One of them is accept a new behavior, right? To try to get people to start recycling, right? So maybe they haven't been recycling, but you want to actually get them to start doing it. So that would be one. Another one would be to reject a new, potentially undesirable behavior. And I actually thought about this today. I saw an article about how teenagers now smoking might be down, relatively speaking, but they're picking up e-cigarettes. So maybe, the whole idea would be there would be a social marketing campaign to make it so that teenagers would be persuaded to not even to reject this behavior. To modify a current behavior. So maybe people are already doing something, but you want them to do more of it, to exercise more, to eat more kale. Although it's like, if you're already eating kale, it's probably enough, I'm guessing. But the idea would be you've already got people with their foot in the door, but you want to actually sort of like boost that behavior a little bit more. So that could be another goal. Or number 4, abandon an old, undesirable behavior. Smoking, I just brought up. So if people have already started smoking, maybe you want them to quit. Texting and driving, right? Maybe this is something that people commonly do, and you would have a social marketing campaign to persuade them to stop. These could be, long-term behavior changes that you're looking for, or it could also be one-time changes that if you could just get people to do it once, to install a smoke detector, or to, I don't know, like buy a first aid kit, right, to keep in their house in case of emergency or something like that, where if you can just get that one behavior down, you're not going to there's no maintenance behind it. You're not going to have to do it. But oftentimes you'll see social marketing campaigns aimed at getting people to adopt some sort of long-term change. Reducing salt intake or something is an example I have down here. So what I want you to do, please, obviously if you read chapter 1, you'll probably do this anyway, but definitely look at some of the examples of social marketing impacts on page 27. Teen pregnancy, fetal alcohol syndrome, blood pressure, fruits and veggie intake, oral health care, organ donation, voting, which is interesting because you could argue that's political, but it's not a political campaign if you're not encouraging people to vote for a particular candidate. Just encouraging people to go out and vote and be more civically engaged would definitely qualify as a social marketing campaign. And take a look at those. And the reason this is all important is because at this point, you're not going to have to, at this point in the semester, you're not going to have to pick a particular behavior to change. But the goal this week is to start thinking about issues that could use some sort of social marketing intervention. Okay, so you don't have to get very specific, but I want you to start. Oh, I'm sorry. Somebody's calling me on the phone. Let me see who it is. Hello? Tell him I'm recording a film for my class. Thank you. Bye. That was John Cole. Do you guys have him in class? Maybe not. Maybe he's not teaching the MA classes, but if you have any tech problems, you definitely know John Cole. He will interrupt my videos frequently. Okay, very sorry for that. Okay, so the whole point is by the end of this week, I want you to be able to have like this grasp of what social marketing is, and so long as you understand sort of the parameters of social marketing, you can start to think about different causes that really interest you. And if you can think about maybe things that you care about or things that you have an interest in because maybe it intersects with your job or something like that, then throughout the semester we can develop a little bit more and think about some behavioral interventions that might help maybe, promote a cause that you care about or something like that. So start thinking about this. Just keep in mind that, what really is sort of defining an important defining feature of social marketing is that we're trying to persuade people to make voluntary decisions, right? We're not actually advocating for any sorts of legislation. We're not trying to get, for instance, like cigarettes taken off the shelves, right? That's a different issue, health communication. What we're trying to do with social marketing is help people make voluntary decisions that will benefit themselves. So just keep that in mind while you're brainstorming. And there's a lot of emphasis for that reason, by the way, on positive reinforcement, right? There's not social marketing. If you're trying to encourage somebody to do something, you give them lots of pats on the backs and incentives to do things. We usually don't disincentivize things. We might point out the, things that aren't necessarily good about current behaviors, right? Like eating lots of fatty food or something like that. But the campaign itself doesn't usually disincentivize things. Usually there's a strong focus on how do we highlight a behavior or give people some sort of incentive. Okay, so just to summarize, basically, if at this point you feel like you have a fairly good grasp on what social marketing is and what types of things fall under the category of social marketing, you have successfully completed the objectives for this week, so congratulations. There is, I guess, one more task that you need to do, which is after you go on the discussion board and introduce yourself in the same post, in the same thread that you create, I want you to just start thinking about topics that you're interested in and that you think might be, potentially promising social marketing campaign topics. We don't have to get really specific here. Again, we're going to go step by step throughout the semester to sort of put together the little different components that come into a larger campaign, and we'll get more specific in that process. For now, I just want you to start thinking about some topics, maybe some potential ways you could go with it. So if you're interested, for instance, if let's say a special cause of yours is, stomach cancer or something like that, and then you can start brainstorming about different behaviors that you might want to tackle. But again, you don't have to be very specific, but you could throw out a bunch of them and have your classmates evaluate them. Or if you're just struggling with topics, you guys could help each other out by maybe looking at other campaigns that have been done. Again, check out the Ad Council for several different examples, and your book is chock full of them. So you could sort of piggyback off of things that have already been done and then work on a campaign that might tweak things in a slightly different way for good justifiable reason. Anyway, I think that about covers it, so I really look forward to seeing your ideas on the discussion board and to the rest of the semester where we start putting some of these social marketing principles into practice. So thank you. Bye-bye.